Hello and welcome back to my Let's Race of Jack 3. In the last episode, we completed the majority of the Haven set of missions along the split path that occurs here in Act 2. We completed the majority of those missions. We've got a few more around the Freedom HQ section of the game and up in New Haven. But what we decided to do, instead of doing those missions right then, we were going to come over to back over to Spargus and try and start the Spargus set of missions. So there are a few of these. There are essentially, I believe there are 5 missions here in Spargus, which we're going to give a go before we head back. Before we head back to Haven and finish off things here in Act 2. So obviously things are paused because we are about to start off our race for artefacts, but just so you know, a little position where we are currently on the standings of the race. As the race currently stands, I'm about 4 missions ahead, four and a bit missions ahead. But we won't really know what will happen now, obviously, because obviously we have this split path. People might choose different things. Essentially, Teal and Sac are just at the point of the split path, choosing between hijacking the eco vehicle or defending the port from the attack, or coming over back to Spargus. So essentially, they've got those 3 missions to choose from. Be interesting to see which ones they do. But we're currently here. We are ahead, which is the important thing, and is a really good. Puts us in really good stead going into these missions. But these missions are not easy, and obviously require some skill in the area of the game which I'm not particularly good at, which is this sort of the buggy driving and stuff like that. So, we have essentially an artifact collecting mission to start off this episode. So, if you remember way back in Act 1, we had a similar thing, and I've just realised that the volume is completely not, so I'll just change that. Okay. Apologies there for the lack of volume, but there we go. So, this one's a lot tougher. Essentially, it's a lot longer. There's a lot more places, essentially, where these marauders can come along and ruin your day. So, whilst the game is not too harsh on the time limits that they give you, like, they do recognise the fact that you are going to get screwed over by marauders occasionally and stuff like this, it's still... It's sort of just the right side of tense to make sure that everything is, it's certainly not a comfortable drive. And we go all over the map with this section, actually. We go down into the Oasis and stuff like that. We go across loads of the jumps that we had to do in the collecting the Wastelanders from the Storm mission, all this sort of stuff. So there's loads of things for us to do, but there is a very important reason why we are doing these things, because we're going to get some useful artifacts when we finish all this. So there we go, and now we're going to have to come down here. Okay, so this is going okay for the start, but again, I don't want to count any chickens too soon, because this mission is a pain. And it is one of the very few missions, I would actually say, where, you know, me taking on a normal run of this game, you know, I haven't played this game in ages, but if I was to just do a normal playthrough of the game, I would not be surprised if it took 2, 3, maybe 4 goes. Because most of these levels, you know, most of them I do expect to complete near enough first time. But there we go. So, yeah, now we're heading over towards the Oasis. Thankfully we get to avoid some of the marauders there. So you continue heading in, and then I think at this point we're going to turn around and start heading back towards Spargus. Yeah. Go away. Oh, shoot. Don't you dare go in the water. Okay, good. I'm pretty sure there's no check. There might be a checkpoint in this mission, but I don't remember there being one as well. So, there we go, nice. Nice. Okay, that's okay, that's okay. Still in this, still in this. Line up the smaller side, there we go, good. Now get up some speed. Yeah, gonna make it, good, lovely. I don't know why there's this slight glitch with regards to the sound of the machine guns from the Sand Shark, but yeah, we're sort of getting some weird audio glitches where like some of the artifact collection sounds aren't going as well. But so as you can see, our health is very consistently being whittled down by this drive. I think the issue is that just some of the times, you know, just the nature of the Sand Shark's weapons, which obviously means that generally you need to be firing at someone straight ahead of you, it doesn't mean that you end up driving into, you know, you'll be shooting down a lot of the enemies and you'll end up just driving into them. So anyway, we get the holocube there, and obviously the holocube sort of appears there and sort of screws you over because you need to realise what you're still in the process of getting back to the city. But there we go.
That's one of the items we need for the force. Good work. Keep looking for more.
Jack, this is Sid. I hear you're in the market for eco-crystals. Well, I know what it is, but it won't be any more. In other words, we got some serious metal here to do. I'll be at the metalhead desert next.
So, as Sig says there, we have the chance to essentially go for another eco-crystal. So if you remember, we've already got, I believe we have three dark eco-crystals. We got from, so we got dark eco-crystal from the satellite, we got a light eco-crystal from beating Seam in the Leaper race with the monks. We got a light eco-crystal for breaking the record of Cleaver at the turret. And I'm trying to remember where else we got some things. Anyway, we're going to arrive here and talk to Stig.
There you are. I was beginning to think you chickened out. I saw an eco-crystal in this place, and it's yours if you want it. Trouble is, metalheads have been spotted here in mass. But we wouldn't want those nasty boys to just move back in here without a welcoming party, would we? Let's go give them a big surprise.
So, off we go into the Metalpede nest. And we're going to get our first encounter, and only encounter, I believe, with the Metalpedes. So, the creatures that made this nest themselves. The reason I'm doing this mission, essentially, you sort of get two options. We could have obviously also headed back and spoken to Damus, and he would have also given us a mission. We're going to do this one first. So yeah, no, essentially, yeah, I can't remember, I'm pretty sure we got 3 dark eco-crystals, but I can't remember where we got the others from. Various missions at the start of the game. You get quite a lot of dark eco-crystals. Oh yeah, we got one from chasing down the metalheads in the Sand Shark, really early on. And I'm sure we got another. But there we go, can't quite remember, but nonetheless, what it does mean is essentially, we need to create, or we need to get 4 of each, and there's a reason for that. That isn't really stated, isn't made clear in terms of the story. Essentially, there's a very particular item that we need in order to actually, essentially complete the game, complete the story. So, you see the Metalpedes, essentially what they do is they pop out of the ground, and only when they pop out of the ground do you have a chance to actually shoot them. They essentially there's obviously the 2 areas which I mentioned when we first came over here to the Metalpede nest. There are essentially 2 areas where you can visit. There's two main caverns, I guess is the way to talk about it. And essentially, The metalpedes sort of occur in alternating caverns, so you essentially get one in one cavern and then one in the next. Obviously there are 5, so you can actually just wait, sort of stand here and just take them out from up here, which is rather handy. Rather than actually having to chase them, which works quite nicely, as you can see. So essentially, obviously, they have 3 varieties of movement. They have a quick appearance. They have a long, extended jump in the air, like that one just did. And then they have the one where they rear up, and then they can actually shoot you using their weapon in their mouth. But ultimately, you know, this isn't particularly difficult, especially if you do actually stay up here, because then the small leecher-like creatures that try and suck all the health out of your vehicle, they can't actually touch you when you're up here, I don't think. Come on. I know you're there. I don't really want to fall down. Lovely. So that's... No idea how we got that much speed, but anyway. So yeah, now the other thing I want to talk about is obviously Kira. We obviously got a message from Kira there talking about one of the artifacts we need. So essentially, if you remember when we were last in Haven Forest, after we killed all the plants that were there, Samos talked about essentially a... I believe he's mentioned it was like a tower to the west that was triggered by 5 special artifacts. So, what we're doing essentially out here in the wasteland is we are collecting those 5 artifacts. And then we're going to be able to use use them to activate the tower inside Haven Forest and reveal the wondrous truths that the legend so promises us. So we're going to get a cutscene as we drive out of here, I believe, as we again obviously get the chance to talk to Sig about his spying that was mentioned when we first met him back in Act 1. But a good successful the first 2 missions, actually. I'm glad we got these 2 out of the way. The next mission's quite fun too. It's essentially it's an on-rails shooter.
Yeah, baby. I love the smell of burnt metal here. This is good practice when the spit hits the fan. Trust me, it's coming.
What's Damon's got to do with Haven City, Sig?
None of your business.
What was all that spying to do? Huh?
Let's just say Damus lost a little something in the city and you wanted me to fight. What do you care, man? Haven folk are a bunch of weaklings. You know that. They'd already lost the war before it started. But Damus has a plan to make sure we all survive.
You're playing with people's lives.
Why not? Make time. Survival of the fittest, baby. I suggest you get with the program and be on the winning side.
And which side is that?
The one on top of the pile. Unfortunately, it's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, a big pile of shit. I got this. So now what?
Just keep your nose clean and stay sharp. I'll tell you when the action's coming.
So there we go, some more story related to what on earth Damus was looking for in Haven City. Or, as in, he doesn't actually tell us. But of course, because we're the hero, and because we're Jack, we're not just going to give up on Haven City just quite as easily as Sig does. So, as you can see, we've got Cleaver. Cleaver's next on our list of people to talk to. Probably shouldn't have done that, it just triggers more enemies in front of me, but anyway. So we'll come into here, talk to Cleaver. What do you have to say?
Cleaver, I need to find some very special Precursor artifacts, but I'm running out of time.
Wait a tick. I just traded a very rare artifact indeed. A nice band of metalheads. It was an ugly piece of hardware. Looked like a dog's breakfast to me. But those toothers paid handsomely. They seemed nice enough. Good ivories they had, you know, if you dig fangs and claws. I bet if you crank up that dump, you and the offsider just might be able to catch him.
I'll drive. Jack, you get on the gun. Dexter, just get in, sit down, and shut up.
Oh, poor Dax.
We're closing in.
So like I said, this mission's largely an on-the-rails shooter, so essentially we're going to get metalheads appearing all over the place, and we're obviously on the gun of 6 vehicle, and we've got to try and take them out as they go by. They don't have too much health, and they're not really that dangerous. Obviously, their primary way of attacking you is through the large projectiles that come out of their back, which they're not too accurate with, but are also quite easy to shoot down. I really enjoy this level because it's what I really find quite impressive about this level is the way it essentially uses the entirety of the map. So you know, you've obviously got the the huge wasteland map, and this allows you to sort of make your way across it, taking out these metalheads as you go. So you saw the first illustration of the flying metalheads that you see around this area. They're slightly more dangerous. They essentially have the capability of shooting relatively some rockets at you, which do pretty high damage. So yeah, so if you heard there, Sig said they're coming from above. We'll see a reference to these guys. Oh, didn't take that guy down, but it doesn't matter. So I've never failed this mission, so I don't exactly know how it works in terms of that, but generally you just continue, just to go along, doing whatever you can to take them out. Like, I don't know if it's like if you miss too many, or I guess it's just like if you take too much damage. But honestly, you should never really suffer from that. There's the missiles. These flying guys can shoot at you. They will take quite a lot of hits, it must be said. Goodbye. So the path will essentially take us all the way back to nicely back towards Spargus, and then from there we'll be able to obviously trigger the next mission. This might be the last one, because obviously we're really close to the Spargus gate. Yeah. As soon as you hit that last guy, who was obviously taking quite a lot more damage than usual, we're going to get access to our a brand new artifact. Our second, so obviously we got the hollow cube, I believe was the one named before. So I don't exactly know what actually Pekka said there, I wasn't really paying attention. But anyway, so we're now going to head over, talk to Deimos, and do some marauder hunting. So the next couple of missions primarily involve taking out lots of marauders. So up we go, we have a nice little cutscene with Deimos, who's obviously been sort of softening towards us
Keeping people alive out here.
over the course of the game.
It can be daunting.
I'd say you've made a good life here.
You too must make a life, Jack. Take your destiny into your own hands. Look, sand cannot keep a shape by itself, but add water, and it becomes malleable. Fate can be such if you add the right element.
Eco.
Our minds think alike. My monks say the world is coming to an end, but I am a survivor. I say we live on long after this world dies. Be ready. You are shaping up to be one of my finest warriors, and I'll need you for the trials ahead. I mustn't lose you, like I lost my son.
You had a child?
Long ago, but much has been sacrificed in this war so that others could live. Anyway, it matters not. We're having serious trouble with marauders lately. I want you to take a vehicle and hunt down their warrior patrols. Go and make war your own.
So like I was saying, yes, the next couple of missions heavily involve us dealing with the threat that marauders pose, both to just to the citizens of the wasteland. So close. So we'll make our way back to the vehicle. You essentially get the choice of vehicles here. You can actually choose whichever one you want. But I'm going to choose the Dune Hopper here. Just because, one, it's got a pretty powerful weapon, which is rather helpful in this mission. But it's also rather important for the next mission as well. So essentially, this mission involves these marauder vehicles trying to destroy the Spargus wall. And what you've got to do is you've just got to take them out. And thankfully these vehicles go down in 2 hits from our Dune Hopper's grenade launcher, which is really helpful. The normal small marauder vehicles can't do anything to you, really. And don't do anything towards the city, whose health you can obviously see on the top, on the left. But the flaming ones will drive into the wall and essentially do damage that way. They generally don't immediately stream towards the wall, they sort of get close and then will turn around and then will go again. Beautiful. But obviously we've only got to take out 13 of the big ones. So the big ones, obviously, they take time, because obviously they've got these large catapults that they're trying to fire at the city. There we go, lovely, beautiful. So that works out really nicely. We've now I'm pretty sure this is literally just... Yeah, there we go. Okay, good, good. I was wondering whether... I don't know whether that changed because I went back to the garage or whether because Seam's dialogue finished, but essentially you need the Dune Hopper for this mission, which is part of the reason why I used it in the last mission. This mission's not particularly nice. Indeed, it can be rather annoying, but we'll see how it goes. So I'll make some careful corners. So here we have the Marauder outpost. If you remember, we actually saw it when we were soaring through the sky using the glider. So the reason we need the Dune Hopper is because the drawbridges that surround this little fortress that they have are knocked down, and we actually need to essentially make these jumps across. So now, you can try and go into this door backwards, which would be helpful, essentially. But essentially the vehicle is auto-driven to a point, so even if you try and go in backwards, it won't actually help, is the important thing. So, as you can see, we have a set of 60 Marauders that we actually need to take out here. And throughout the battle, essentially, you've got these, these fireballs coming down and pulverizing the battlefield. But with all of the weapons that we have, this really isn't a particularly difficult battle. As you can see, the usual tactic of setting up a beam reflexor works rather well. If you want, when the floor glows, that's when you know that a fireball is planning on landing there. You don't want to stray too far from your vehicle because we'll want to be there for the end. We want to get into our vehicle as soon as this area is done. There we go. Okay. So there they go, the terrible four. Essentially, what we got to do is we got to chase after them. And you have a time limit with which you have to take out the first 3, and it's pretty strict. So you have to be pretty fast with this. Now, obviously, throughout this, we're going to get other Marauders attacking us, which you sort of want to use for boosts and stuff like that. You can also do your utmost to try and snipe them by essentially firing from up high. As you can see, we are catching up with this guy, so we should be able to take him out. Lovely. Hunt and destroy. But no, it's essentially the strictness of the time limit and the fact that obviously you're forced to use the Dune Hopper's weapon, which is great in certain circumstances, but in this sort of situation where you're trying to essentially be very accurate with how you shoot, it's not the best. I don't want to go too far off where they're going, to be honest. I think we're cutting the corner here. I think this is a good thing. Try and X. There we go. Okay, good. So yeah, so essentially you just got to follow these guys around the map. Essentially they are on a specific path, so if you do try the mission once, then you do know exactly where they'll be going the next time. Oh, but it's so much damage. Come on, take him out. There we go, okay. So now the last guy, essentially, as you can see, the time limit does not continue on. We are now essentially... But you can't let him get too far ahead, is the rule now. So rather than you've got to take him out in a specific time, you can't let this guy get too far ahead. Which obviously, when you've got all of these other marauders trying to spoil your day, is not the easiest thing. How are we doing? Okay, so, oh man, that's bad. Go. So not doing too badly. I have got him really early. Essentially, you know, obviously, you know, like I was saying, with the nature of the Dune Hopper's weapons, the grenades, essentially, you can get really lucky and you can take them out. You can get this guy really early on. I'm pretty sure I have got him outside the city before, which is obviously rather satisfying. Unfortunately, that's not going well. Come on, give me. That's not going well either. Come on. You can't let him go to a green dot on the screen for too long, otherwise that happens. So. And obviously, yeah, this is because it's pretty much a straight driving thing. Especially with the Dune Hopper, where I guess because of the nature of the car, I'm more, you know, I more want to be more risky with it because I know that, you know, it obviously can pay off. Obviously, the first one moves really slowly, but the later ones do not. This is just one of those really fiddly Act 2 missions that I really am not a fan of. Okay, good. Obviously, we're taking these guys out quite a lot faster than we were last time, which is good. Sure they don't change path regardless of the path I take, so should. Beautiful. Go on, take him out. Oh, I thought those shots would have done it, but I do love Dax throughout this. You know, there he is. Get him now. Okay, you are so dead. Goodbye. There we go. Lovely. Thank goodness. So that is now done. So So as Samus is saying there, essentially we only have 4 of the 5 pieces, but we are hopefully going to be able to discover where that final piece is using using the forest ruins in whatever capacity we can. Okay, so. So we head back to our transport and we will head over to the forest. It's an annoying mission to obviously fail because it's a relatively long one. So I'd say that's probably the first.
I've been doing some research into the forest pillars. It seems they've been here for longer than any other known ruins, except for maybe the catacombs. Myth says these pillars were once linked to some type of planetary observation system. Very mysterious. Let's see if those items you found in the wasteland will activate and unlock their secrets.
So yeah, can't remember what was I talking about. I hate it when that happens, when you pause to let the game talk. But anyway, so the next mission is pretty long. Oh yeah, no, I was saying that was probably the first major mistake I've made through this run, which I can sort of take. You know, it's something I can. One major mistake so far is certainly not a bad thing. So, the forest ruins. Essentially, we get a series of jetboard challenges where you've got to follow the blue stream and go through all the rings. And they'll obviously make you do a lot of grinding, a lot of sharp turns, a lot of essentially every time you do that, one of these 4 pillars raises, and we need to get all 5 up in order to actually get to the top of the tower. So we knock in this guy's nose, and here we go. Essentially, these challenges are made all the more stressful just because you are so close behind the because you're so close behind the sort of, I guess I don't know what the little puff of the thing that creates the rings, whatever it's called, I don't know. But you're so close behind it all the time, and so all of the time limits are really, really like small. So you've got to be particularly vigilant. Essentially, the 3rd one and the 5th one are usually the ones I would say are the hardest out of these. So this one and the last one. You can obviously expect the last one to be rather difficult. The 4th one is actually pretty simple because it follows a relatively well-defined path across the water, whereas this one tends to requires a lot more sort of grinding and stuff like that. God. Ah, damn. Okay, well that's another big mistake, unfortunately. I could have used without doing that, that's really annoying. This episode is like my Mars Tomb of Jak 2, the episode where I just don't perform nearly as well as I might hope I would. Except I know that this race is a lot closer than Jak 2 was. So this might have an even bigger effect. God. The important thing is just don't make the same mistake twice. If you do fail once, then that's okay, as long as you don't fail again. Damn. Come on. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, not really lucky there, but we'll take it, we'll take it, we'll take it. Good, good. Okay, so next one is right behind us. Because it's in the water. So yeah, like I said, this one's not too bad because essentially, whilst the time limits are really strict on this one in particular, essentially, when we get into the meat of a lot of this, essentially you'll get like, 2 seconds between rings. It does follow this rather nice path, so it's not too bad. Beautiful. Okay, so that's that one done. So now we've got to find the last one, which is right over here. So essentially, when we were doing the killing all the dark eco plants, one of the areas that I mentioned was this sort of large spiral tower, and that's because this is where the final and hardest of these ring challenges is. Essentially, you've got to know that you're heading between those trees there at the start. And then... essentially, it takes you along a similar path to the third. So back over these grinding areas. Ah, man, it's so close. I don't know why the launch jump didn't get me up there. But yeah, so essentially, I mean, I've done all the difficult bits too, which is really annoying, because we were essentially there. Once you make all of those jumps, you then just go back up the spiral and you reach the top and you're done. So that's just annoying. Well, I did say the third and the fifth were the hard ones, and the third and the fifth were the ones I failed on, so at least I'm not... oh, man. Nope, nope. Yeah, can't make it up now. Okay, so... okay, come on. Let's just get this right. Down here. Down here. I've always hated this mission, so as missions go that I would fail on, I'm not surprised at this one. It's just turned what was a pretty comfortable lead into a rather interesting situation, because I did a lot of difficult missions. Well, I did a lot of what I consider difficult missions in the last episode. It'll be interesting to see how Teal and Sac complete those missions, because if they end up finding those missions to be particularly simple, then I might have just thrown away my lead here, which is rather worrying. But there we go. Okay, cool. So now, essentially the way these pillars work is every time you stand on them, they raise up. Obviously, they don't do that if you've only done 4, because otherwise the 4th one would raise and you wouldn't need to do the 5th.
Behold, the seed of our destruction.
What? Let me see. Is she hot?
We precursors built many worlds across the universe, shaping them with eco into something good. But we were foolish. The Dark Makers were once precursors, but their exposure to dark eco changed them. They began twisting worlds, conquering life, and dark ages ensued.
So there we go, we have the main chunk of the story is revealed.
This is as we feared. We must get into those catacombs before that ship reaches this planet.
This is where we're going to call this episode to an end. Obviously a very important plot point has just been revealed. A poor episode from my perspective, obviously 3 deaths on the ring challenges and 1 on the Marauder chase have really knocked us back a little. I was hoping to get a little further, but ultimately it's not catastrophic, thankfully. We did get through these levels, so we don't need to worry about them anymore. But no, yeah, not ideal, but hopefully we'll be able to hit back and really get back into our stride going into the end of Act 2, which I'm expecting we'll probably be able to get virtually at the end of Act 2 by the end of this, by the end of the next episode. So hopefully we'll be at the end of Act 2, and then we'll be able to start Act 3, and the difficult missions will keep on coming, but yeah, no. These are some of the less difficult and more just annoying, missions that are difficult for me, I guess, rather than just in general. And I guess that's why it's more frustrating to lose on them, because you don't know how our competitors, Teal and Sac are actually going to fare going into these levels. But anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this episode of my Let's Race of Jak 3. And I hope you'll join me on the next, where we will try and do better and try and get close. I don't think we'll be able to complete the boss at the end of this, because we still got a fair few missions, maybe 5 or 6. But then again, we did do 7 missions, I think, or 6 missions today. So maybe we'll be able to make it, but we'll see. But no, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you will join me on the next.